Hi, and welcome to the Unashamedly Human podcast, a podcast created to help you get out of your head and into your life. That is, if you want to have more fun, freedom, happiness, peace of mind, and success whilst squeezing the juice out of every area of your life. Join Jackie Ford every Thursday and listen in to her warm Scottish tones, wise heart, and wonderful sense of humour as she interviews guests and discusses what it means to be unashamedly human.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Unashamedly Human podcast. My name is Jackie Ford and I am an international coach, trainer and mentor living in Scotland but with a global practice. Today I'm with someone that I admire greatly for oh so many reasons, someone who has helped me immensely, both personally but also from the perspective of my business, and I wanted to share this person with you because she's starting something really quite exciting to share what she does with the rest of the world. So today I'm speaking with Susan Wheeler-Hall. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Jackie.
Susan and I have spoken before on my podcast, but today, our topic is really completely different. For those of you that don't know Susan, Susan is American but lives in Canada now, and she has various aspects to it. I always like to call this a portfolio career because Susan just doesn't focus on one thing. She has a couple of things. So for me, that's wonderful because you're living on purpose. You're doing what makes sense to you to do and with passion. So Susan lives with a disability and has for many, many years through her very positive attitude and can-do way of doing things has been coaching other people to show them that you can live life positively even if you have a disability. And she's been teaching other people and coaching them on all the aspects related to navigating life with a disability. So I mean, it's a beautiful thing to do, but that isn't all there is to Susan. Susan is just she's a wizard. Actually, she runs a business called Susie Webb. And in this business called Susie Webb, Susan helps people like you and me create amazing websites. But not only that, and especially in this climate that we're all living in, Susan helps people like you and me create online courses. Now, so many people, because of this global pandemic, are shifting their work from in-person to online. But a lot of people are getting really, really stuck on how do I do that? What's the best tech to use? How do I create this? What do I put in an online course? What the hell's going on? And I've just been through this process with Susan. Susan built my website beautifully, and we'll talk about how she got me by the cuff of my neck and made me do that. That's the only way I can describe it. And how, we've created the first online course at the back end of my website, which I would never have done if it wasn't for Susan. So again, Susan, welcome to all the portfolio parts of you.
Thank you, Jackie. It's lovely to be here with you. And it's been great to work with you through all the different phases, for sure.
No, I know. Susan, see when you're working with people, what's, to create a website or to create an online course, what is it that you see the most? What stops people the most?
Yeah, that's a good question. Procrastination for sure is one thing. People have an idea of what they want,
Yeah.
but they don't necessarily know how to get there.
Right.
So, I try to kind of take them by the hand and basically help them understand their own little stepping stones of what they need to put together. And the building a website is very different than an online course.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly you need the website before you have the online course. And since the pandemic, of course, the whole e-learning has just skyrocketed. In fact, since 2020, the estimates has grown like 900%, which is like unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, they were estimating that industry to be a $325 billion industry. So more and more companies, like 50, 60, 70% companies are now relying on online learning to facilitate many um, seminars and education things they would normally provide to their staff.
Mm.
And so they're saving a lot of money by doing that. But yeah, the interesting thing about online courses, and I started doing online courses maybe um, 5 years ago. And
Mm.
I actually started with just making my own. So, I mean, that's usually how I do things. I get curious and then I try to figure out puzzles. And I was making a lot of websites for people, and that was fine. I enjoyed doing that. But then I found I was getting, pickier with who it is I wanted to work with, which is, let me just turn something off here. And that got me, it helped me to get clearer on a few things too, because, I didn't want to just make websites for, somebody that made hammers or something like that. I'm much more interested in working with people that help other people.
Yeah.
So that tends to be my preferred client.
Yeah.
And that comes from my own background. I'm a retired family therapist. So,
Mm.
and I always specialize, as you say, with disability. So I really like helping people that help people. And so I started with my own course. I made a course called Living Well When Unwell to help people that were, adjusting to maybe a new disability after they had a chronic illness or an accident. And because that basically was the kind of work I did for many years as a counselor.
Mm.
So I thought, well, maybe let's see if I can, package up my work. So I did that. And so I used my own course as my learning model and, worked my way through that. And then I ran the course a couple of times and it was really well received. So there's two different aspects here. One is the content, and it was well received, and that was great. And it kind of allowed me to step back into my old profession, if you like,
Mm.
but at the same time transition to more of the online work, what I was finding really, um, interesting. And so it's hard to let go of one profession, when you've been that role for so many years. But so that really helped me to do that. And then after I ran the two iterations, I went more full time into the tech. So although I do some very small amount of coaching in the disability field, I tend to do more tech because now there's more and more demand for that, and there are always new puzzles,
Mm.
you know. And so then the online course was really my became my specialty, and I did that, and I've developed a way to do it that is very customized, because I like people to be their own personality and their own style to be reflected in what it is they're teaching, because they're the teacher,
Mm.
and people are usually drawn to them to learn from.
Mm.
But then on the other hand, what I discovered there was, like, not everybody wants to learn about WordPress and to get into the whole tech stuff and all of that. But so I did create a course for people that want to do that, and that's great, because that cuts down on some of the, back and forth time with me. Because if they have the course and they have a good foundation, but then the same thing happened with the online courses. People wanted, oh, I want to have an online course, but they don't know. And I say to them, well, okay, how many lessons? How many? They don't know. They don't really know how to condense the information they have in their head
Mm.
into a learnable path. So, and they tend to think they have to put it in the kitchen sink,
Yeah.
everything. Well, I got to teach this,
Mm.
but you have to understand in the online learning, it goes into the same sort of premise that you would with an education system. You have to attend to learning styles, um, learning abilities. You have to be mindful of the amount of information. You've got to put in, kind of like milestones of success,
Mhm.
and checks and balances, if you like, so that people know that, oh, I am, getting some learning here, So what I decided to do after being frustrated with a number of clients, not you, Jackie, you were
I'm
very
sure.
clear.
I'm sure you were almost there with me, though. No, you were there with me. Don't kid yourself.
But no, you were very clear on what you had to offer, and actually, I thought what you did was really smart in the sense, for example, this course that you're just doing now on the exploring the missing link of the three principles. You're using the book as the foundation.
Mhm.
So therefore you have the chapters to follow.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you a little bit of a map.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do, is help people sort of create their own little map
Mhm.
so that it's a learnable process. There's stepping stones you're going to. And and then just kind of looking at, you know, um, really getting clear on the topic. 'Cause a lot of people, like, they want to teach, maybe auto body, car auto body stuff. That's a big topic,
Yeah.
so it's really learning how to create small in-depth topics
Mhm.
where people can kind of learn a little and then learn a little more,
Mhm.
you know, that kind of thing. So that's what I tend to try to do now. And so before I take on a client for an online course, I put them through this process to help them to identify these important things that have to be in place in order for me to truly build the technology,
Mhm.
the technical stuff. And what I try to do is be their partner in taking over that tech stuff. Because what I do is I don't just, there's lots of places you can just, go on Teachable or Thinkific and Udemy and all these other programs. And, you're constricted in what it is and how you put in information and how it is retrieved by the learner. And I don't really think that always is what some people want.
Mhm.
They really want to have their own expression. So that's what I try to do, is create the really customized tech system, but then provide the customization that makes it easy for the client to use.
Oh, Susan, I mean, absolutely, absolutely. Sort of when we first spoke about about putting in or getting some kind of online course system, I had been racked with confusion for years about what system to use. I'd got myself into the mindset of bigger is better. These systems are hugely expensive. Then there's all the add-ons. And I remember coming to you and saying, yeah, I'm going to use this product. And you just very firmly, but very beautifully said to me, you'll be paying twice if you do that, Jackie. The system I'm recommending, we can put that in. It's a WordPress system. Put it in the back end of your website. You're learning about WordPress, and you've been teaching me about WordPress. And it's the first time in my life I've been in doing all my own stuff and updating things. No, I don't update.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, material.
yeah. Creating material and putting it in and creating products and blah, blah, blah. And it's such a wonderful feeling, because I now have this, because of the way that you've worked with me, I have this gorgeous playfulness and curiosity about the tech side of my business that I've never ever had it before. There's always been the people that I've worked with before, they haven't been as communicative as you, they haven't been as open as you, they haven't been as helpful as you. And these are key things when you're working with someone, when you're putting your heart and soul and saying, I want to create this. I'm putting me into a website. I'm putting me into this course. So the lovely thing was with my website, I'd sort of paid Susan a third of the money to start with me. And then I never got round to writing the material for Susan to put in the website. And this went on for quite a while, to the point that Susan then got in touch with me, obviously very frustrated and wanted to get it done. And during the hottest weather in the pandemic this year, Susan had me meet her every single day for 2 weeks to put the content into my website. And so I had this personal responsibility that I knew I couldn't show up without having sent you the material, the content. So it was wonderful for me because I had no wriggle room. I had no wriggle room, and that was the perfect learning for me to do that. And so, it was created in, just an amazing amount of time. And I tell her, Susan, that I love her, but I hate her too. But because
That was fun.
it was fun, and it happened, and it got done.
But the reason I think one of the things that helped me, and this is where my counseling background really came into play, because like I knew you really wanted to get it done. I mean, I'll be honest. There have been clients like that I've said, we're not going to finish, because they're clearly not coming up with the material, and I'm not, I can't make it out of thin air. But I knew you more personally, and we'd already had a nice connection, and I thought, well, I think Jackie needs a little Gestalt therapy. Which is not my style as a rule.
Certainly applied it, darling.
But I thought, well, let's just give this a try. And it worked, because I knew you were invested in getting it done. But once I did notice that once you started to see it come into play,
yes.
then you were more willing to show up every day.
Yeah. I'm like you said earlier, Susan, this thing about we all have different learning styles or different ways that we prefer. For me, I'm very visual. I love if I can see a framework, I get so excited and I can imagine, but it's sometimes difficult for me to see that if I don't have that framework. And in that, then I get lost in the big picture, rather than being able to chunk it down. And I've always been that way, that if I can chunk it down, then I can work it out. But if I've just got the big picture, I've got so many ideas going through my head all the time that I pay far too much attention to.
But it was really interesting, because I worked with you in a very different way than I have anyone else, in the sense that, I actually, we were behind the scenes together building it at the same time, which normally I wouldn't do, because it's very time consuming. And also, and also you're kind of giving away your own tricks, really. But, I was really invested in getting this done, and I could see you needed to see it visually come together. So by, actually doing it with me, like you were right over my shoulder, basically.
Yeah.
And then telling me, no, I want this on the left and that on the right. And so, and then you actually learned the tools by watching me build your own website.
Yeah, no, it was the best experience, Susan. I mean, it really was the best experience. And that's where this playfulness has come from for me to go in and play. I mean, and I'm not even talking about the fact that you've created these gorgeous little web videos for me. So, if I get stuck, Susan's created these gorgeous little videos in my dashboard. I learn how to make a coupon. I know how to move a blog post. It's beautiful it's some web designers or people who create or developers, they want to create an interdependency, so that you always have to go back to them. What I love about you is you are teaching me so that I could do it myself. And then the things that I can't do, I go, Susan, can you help me? And then you're so gorgeous. You're like, come on, I'll show you. And then you show me, some of them I would attempt, some of them I wouldn't attempt. But that in itself, that nurturing, caring, it's a loving attitude, Susan, to help me bring or birth the idea that I had and I wanted to put out there, which was huge for me, because I really had been let down by so many people who said they were going to do websites and all these things for me, and people who told me, to buy, these products, and the products were really expensive, and I didn't need them at that stage in my journey. But you just kind of pulled me by the ear. You're like, no, Jackie, you don't need that. Why don't you try this? Instead of doing that.
Yeah.
And we're not even started talking about the online course yet. That was just you with my website. And then Susan suggested to me, because I've been using kind of email funnels to deliver courses that people had done, and I was storing my videos in Vimeo and, storing other stuff in Amazon or in Dropbox so that I could deliver it. And Susan just said to me, well, why don't we do this? And I thought, well, do you know what? I've got most of the material for this Exploring the Missing Link. Why don't we start with that one?
Mm-hmm.
And Susan immediately says, I'm going to create you a template. So here we go into the back end of the website together. And Susan creates me this template that I've got for all of my online courses.
Mm-hmm.
And she shows me what to do and how to do it. So it's just amazing, and it's simple, and it's wonderful. And I'm so grateful, Susan.
Oh, that's good. Well, and it does reflect you. I mean, the whole idea of making the template, with making the lesson template, because I do a combination of making the template, but also making very custom information units. So what that means in simple terms is I create a template, but then I make an area for Jackie where she puts in, this is where you put the content, here's the box you put the video in, here's the box you put the audio in, and then it will magically appear in the right spot on the template.
It
So it
does.
doesn't matter what lesson you're in, they will all have that consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And the consistency is another part of the attending to the learning styles.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want someone to go to a lesson and it's like, oh, where's this? Where's that? It's the same as like, where your scissors are, and where your pots and pans are. They're in the same place.
Absolutely. And it was gorgeous. Susan was on the first call. We've just started the Exploring the Missing Link course. And I'll be running it again next year. If any of you guys, missed it this time, you want to come on it next time. But while Susan was on the call, we asked everyone at the beginning, how are you finding the online portal? And the words that came back from everybody was, oh, it's intuitive. Oh my gosh, there's amazing material. The cartoons are wonderful. It's kind of like there was audios and videos and writing. So whether you were someone who learns by hearing something or reading something or watching something, everything was there for you. We haven't quite got to smelly vision yet, but maybe one day we'll get there too. But it was like all of the senses were being bathed in this gorgeous template, personal template that Susan had created for me. And then this intuitive online course for people. And it's beautifully set out. I mean, it really, really is. I keep going back in and having a look at it and it's like, oh, it's mine. Because it's just so lovely.
Well, and it's nicely organized too. And and you mentioned about the dashboard videos that I make for you, it's the how-to area. And there are systems like other web designers can, we have access to these sort of, cheap and friendly videos that we can put in people's dashboards. But they're very generic and they're rushy. One thing I'm not is rushy, mostly because my, my vocal system doesn't allow that. But I've found that by putting in to the dashboard the how-tos, if I make it using your own website, then you know exactly what to look at and exactly what to find. Whereas if I put it in on just a generic website, sometimes making that, that crossover is a little harder. So I think the biggest key is, trying to step into your shoes, the person I'm working with, and, understanding that, they don't know what I know. So let's, and scale down and go the steps that that they need, that sort of thing. And it's the same way to go about a course, because a lot of people take for granted the information that they have. They think, oh well, of course they're going to know that. No,
Absolutely.
there is no of course. Yeah. So it's, really kind of trying to remember when you didn't know.
Yeah. I love that, trying to remember when you didn't know. And I was thinking, Susan, about, sort of I spent years as a trainer in the pharmaceutical industry, creating courses for people, delivering the courses, monitoring the effectiveness, and so putting a course together doesn't frighten me, in terms of breaking it down. But I
Right.
know you mentioned that at the beginning, that frightens people, doesn't it? Because again, like I said, some people are very big picture and they find it hard to chunk it down.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I find a lot of I think we all have beautiful skills that we're not even really aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one of the skills that I have comes from my disability. I've lived with disability all of my life. So some things, some abilities, I have to really pay very close attention to. So
Mm-hmm.
what I could do 2 years ago, I can't do today, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And along that path, from the 2 year pattern or time frame, it's becoming really, really aware. Like, where exactly do I place my foot? Where exactly do I grab the wall? Little things that can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very keenly aware of some of those things. So that gives me a great sense of really paying attention and listening to people.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm a really good problem solver because, um, I think I did a little video on doing up buttons, where, during like how I lost that ability because of my progression in my disease. But, and through that process, I learned to do buttons up 6 different ways,
Mm-hmm.
whereas everyone else, they think just one way.
Yeah.
So it's by really breaking it down because of my ability changes,
Mm-hmm.
I learned to do it different ways. I mean, one, I can tell you that's extremely silly.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was a young woman working in an office and, wearing blouses and whatnot, I used a shoelace.
Mm-hmm.
I would put the shoelace through and pull the other button and pull it through with the shoelace. I mean, it's, really took some time.
It was good. Yeah. Yeah, but you got the desired effect, didn't you? So
Yeah, and it was, so that's like the sense of problem solving.
mhm.
So it's really kind of helping people. Okay, you've got a topic, and then what I do is I help them, I flip it up.
Yeah.
Let's work backwards. You need to know where you want your learner to be at the end of the course.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want them to walk out the door with? What skill, what understanding, whatever it is. So it's working backwards.
No, it's beautiful, Susan. What I've always loved about you is your natural sense of curiosity,
Hmm.
about people, because you're a trained therapist and you understand about the understanding that I teach about the principles. You understand that too, but you enjoy working with people. You're very intuitive about people. And so you don't take this one size fits all approach. Otherwise, you
No.
would never have worked with me in the way that you've worked with me. And,
Mm.
I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you, delighted with my website, delighted with, what's been set up to help me do these online courses and create them myself, and delighted to continually be chatting with you. And, from all of
Mm.
this, we had a friendship before, but from all of this, there's just a deeper sense of friendship and love and understanding, because I really appreciate you, Susan.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
Oh,
you as well.
thank
But
you.
it's really exciting because I mean, like when I see, you'll send me a little message. Look, I just made a new page, and and I get the same delight in seeing you do that.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess it's just wonderful to see that someone actually has taken on the learning and is getting the joy out of knowing how to do something new that they didn't think they could do before.
Yeah.
And it's true. I hear it all the time. People that have been ripped off,
Yeah.
websites, and
Totally.
they're like waiting like 4 or 5 days for someone to write back just so they can change a word on their website.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, living with disability, I'm all about understanding the need for independence.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't want someone to be having to do that with me. I want to foster independence and growth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I differ. And I'll take that little extra time to help a client get there. And the funny thing is, other web people that I see do that, it actually, I think, works against them. Yeah, they maybe have to wait, the person will get there to change the word or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not going to really explore and bring them more business because they're kind of pissed off with them,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Whereas most of my, like, I had never advertised. All of my business has been built one website at a time, word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then I offer management, helping people, and everyone is a different level. Some people like you're very good. You're really on your way here because I can see you creating more and more courses and more products, and you can see that it's all possible.
Yeah.
And the beauty is that we need to be realistic and understand that our websites are now our brick and mortars.
Yeah.
So if you're taking your business seriously,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to have a good functioning website that is dependable for you and for your clients.
Sorry. I had a feeling she would do that.
You could just edit that out.
Um, you do. You need a functioning website. I'm sorry, my daughter just FaceTimed me there. She's got a habit of doing that. And I'm just going to keep it in the podcast because that's life in the 21st century, especially during whatever. So I know my website's sound. I know what you've built for me as a course is sound. And I couldn't be happier, Susan. And I know that you work with, is it Rudy from Innate Evolution as well? So a lot of
Yes.
his stuff you've been doing with him too.
Yeah,
So
I do his website. Yes.
yeah, so it's kind of like you're not messing about here. You're in there and you're creating amazing stuff. I know that you've got an event coming up, and this is the reason I wanted you on the podcast, Susan. I wanted you to be able to share with people this event because I would love them. Well, selfishly, I don't want them to work with you because I might get less time with you. And I just love the time we hang out. But at the same time, I am going to be magnanimous and share you with the world because I know there's a lot of people out there, and especially people listening to this, who want to create something online and they just don't have the tech, they don't have the understanding, they don't have the wherewithal. And I know that you're doing something soon that you would love to invite them to.
I would, yes. Well, and it goes back to the online coursing because, as I'm saying, like a lot of people will come to me wanting to do an online course, but they don't have all the prepared materials. So they're not clear on what it is they want to teach, how they want to teach it, and all this learning path that I'm talking about. So I thought, well, maybe that's, and I love teaching. So I thought, well, maybe I need to, do a little pivot here, because I'm finding I'm doing less website building per se
Right.
and more teaching because I love to see people learn and to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, all right, so before I take on any more online learning building course sites, maybe I need to, find a way to let some people know here's how to build your foundation first. Because if you don't have a blueprint, you're not going to have a very good house. Simple as that. So, I want to so I'm going to do a little webinar on December the 10th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. That's my time, 4:30 UK time, and I'll do an hour presentation on how to go about, determining your topic and really looking at creating that learner's path. How can we do that with the material that you want to teach? So that's what the webinar will focus on. And then, of course, some time for questions and whatnot. And I decided not to make this a free webinar because there's so many free webinars out there, which is great. But I really only want to work with people who are serious about creating their online course.
Yeah.
Because those are the people I really want to help. because I want to help people who want to help other people.
Yeah.
So it's a very small cost, $25. It's basically just a token to let me know that they're serious about wanting to do this. And I think if I can relay some information to them to help them work on their foundation, that might give them the clarity that they need to know whether or not they truly want to do an online course. Because a lot of times people think, oh, everyone's doing it, I better do that. So that's it's a business another revenue stream, and it certainly is, because a lot of people could benefit in terms of less one-to-one work, making a course, that kind of thing. So it is a good way to benefit from your time. But one of the things that stops people from making online courses is not knowing what it is they want to teach, and the tech overwhelm. So although I'm not going to be going over everything in terms of the tech in the webinar, but I'll go over just enough to let them know how that can be, taken out of the equation. Because if they didn't have to deal with that technical overwhelm, and if they took that out of the equation and focused more on the content and their actual course, then it might come to fruition a lot sooner than they think.
Oh, absolutely, Susan. Well, I know I'm going to sign up for it, actually. Well, why not? It's not a huge amount of money. I mean, what's $25 is like 20 quid or something here. So worth it for an hour of your time going through this kind of thing. I would highly recommend this to anybody. And if you can send me the links and everything else, Susan, then for sure we'll add this to the podcast and I'll get that out to people, as soon as possible, because I just think, we have to invest in ourselves, invest in our businesses. And like you say, get curious about, is this for me or is this not for me?
Right. Yeah.
So Susan, as always, it's a pleasure speaking with you. And I'm so honoured to have you as a guest on the Unashamedly Human podcast. And the Unashamedly Human part of this is really just you showing up as you has enabled me to serve more people. And I'm forever grateful for that, Susan. Thank you.
No, my pleasure indeed, because like I say, it's just wonderful to see it all come together, and and seeing the other people, like I'm in the course that you're delivering now, and seeing other people benefiting from the course. It's like, wow, that's great. So like the technology's all working, and so yeah, it takes time to really customize it and build it to your liking and your reflection. But in the end, I think it's so worth it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jackie.
You could be larger than life.